Okay, next speaker is the most, should I say infamous person? I don't know. But it's Lena Kotré, who represents the Alternative for Germany party. And she is, I was told, the deputy leader of the AfD's group in Brandenburg, which is the area around Berlin, more or less. So Lena, please go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, if you ask to someone in Germany what first comes to mind when they think of Norway, the answers would likely be black metal, the Norwegian welfare state, Vikings, fjords, and forests. If you were to ask someone in Norway what first comes to mind when you think of Germany, the answers would likely be Muslim terrorist attacks, the migration crisis, population replacement, and migrant crime. Only then might football, beer, and techno be mentioned. How could a once respected industrial nation, the homeland of Schiller and Goethe, Max Planck and Konrad Zuse, Martin Luther, Ludwig van Beethoven, Immanuel Kant, and Johannes Gutenberg sink so low that its own population now appears defenseless against being replaced and driven from its homeland? In the following, I will describe the psychological, linguistic, and political mechanisms responsible for this and explain how the AfD managed to outmaneuver the system and its actors while increasingly raising public awareness of the value of remigration. There are two key factors: the left-wing dominance in state institutions and in the media. Let us first talk about the left-wing infiltration on the state. First, it is important to understand that Germany is a constitutional state. This means that the actions of the government are limited by laws so that citizens are not subjected to arbitrary state power. All people are supposed to be equal before the law. So far, so good. Our opponents, however, have found a subversive way to use the rule of law for their own purposes. In both Germany and Norway, the goal of our common enemies is the same: the demoralization, replacement, and ultimately the dissolution of the indigenous peoples of our countries. This can be achieved by the power structures of the state. If you ask any average German in Berlin or Munich if they want to be replaced and have their culture erased, they will say no. However, if a court confirms that it must happen, and if the state-controlled media announce that population replacement is either not taking place or, alternatively, is something positive, the average German will accept it. After all, they live in a constitutional state. In the German language, constitutional state means Rechtsstaat, a state based on rule of law. Recht means right, law or justice. Gerecht means fair or just. Rechtsstaat, Recht, Gerechtigkeit. This linguistic and phonetic similarity is one of the reasons for our success. Let me give you a few examples. This is from the news from last week. An Afghan family lives in Hamburg on 7,000 euros of welfare benefits per month. At the same time, a family member works in a supermarket selling food from the Orient. The son showcases his wealth on social media: trips to Turkey, expensive cars, influencer lifestyles. That is 7,000 euros every month that is meant for the needy, yet it is being paid out to an apparently well-doing Afghan family. The state is aware of this. Consequences? None. Compare that with the following. German entrepreneur Michael Ballweg, who organized protests against the COVID measures in Germany and thus came under the scrutiny of the security services, mistakenly listed a dogmat incorrectly in his tax return. The damage to the state, 18 euro. The consequence, 9 months of detention. 9 months for 18 euros. Now the question arises if 18 euros in damage to the state really weigh more heavily than 7,000 euros every month. From a rule of law perspective, all over this is formally in order since the 9 months of detention were ordered by a judge. Recht, meaning justice, and fairness was applied. Let us turn to a second example. The former spokesperson on the youth wing of the Green Party in Germany said that we have in Germany a disgusting white majority society. She said this on a program broadcast nationwide. There were no consequences. In Germany, this is considered protected by freedom of speech. A TERF, also a Green Party politician, called Germans a mongrel race. A breed of dogs. A court confirmed that this was okay. However, referring to Turks as a mongrel race or a breed of dogs is a criminal offense under the charge of incitement to hatred because it must concern a group that, as a recognizable entity, stands out from the mass of the domestic population. That is Recht, meaning justice and fairness was applied. It was not quite so simple in the case of a prominent right-wing YouTuber named Shlomo. He spent 9 months in prison. The main charge at his trial was, in one of his videos, he had included a clip from the song What a Black Says, along with the corresponding music video, which was interpreted as a denigration of black people in general. The song itself is by the American Jewish comedian Raka Raka Ali, who has 2 million subscribers on YouTube. Shlomo was arrested by a special police unit on the street while he was out with his child. The officers could have simply rung the doorbell or his home and avoided publicly traumatizing his child, but they chose not to. 9 months because a judge interpreted a joke as the denigration of black people. Denigration of Germans is permitted, while alleged denigration of black people is not. Formally in line with the rule of law, Rechtsstaat, the fair justice. These are just a few of the many examples I could list. Not everyone in Germany is treated equally. If you belong to the left wing or foreign side of the political spectrum, you enjoy far-reaching freedom of speech that can even extend to incitement to hatred, covered by justice. So how do such absurd situations come about in the first place? Well, the left-wing Berlin parliamentarian Benedikt Lux said the following in an interview. We have replaced the entire leadership of almost all Berlin security agencies and brought in some really good people. At the fire department, the police, and this is important, the public prosecutor's office, and also the domestic intelligence service. I very much hope this will be felt in the future. What has certainly been felt is along a series of court rulings suggesting that some judges are left-wing political activists. Completely ordinary citizens are prosecuted over nothing. For statements they did not even know were punishable. It is not uncommon for those affected to have to take their case to the next instance, where they finally win. These judges are well aware of the costs and are involved in an appeal and therefore seem to hand down judgments in the hope that defendants will simply no longer fight back. In short, this is the mechanism by which the extreme left uses our state. First, the important positions within the state are filled, then judgments are issued against Germans. This is then considered Rechtsstaat, the rule of law. Let us now quickly turn to the second important factor, the media controlled by the left, including the state media. Their task is to conceal the extent of immigration while at the same time demoralizing our people and presenting them with a distorted way of reality. According to a long-term study, 64% of all journalists are left-wing. 64%. 8% are conservative and 3% are libertarian. The mainstream press in Germany is left-wing with all the consequences that entails. But what these people have not considered is this: every system and every campaign has a weakness and it can be subversively undermined. Now let us take a look at how the AfD is breaking up this left-wing bloc, shall we? Words can have many meanings, sometimes none at all. You cannot simply change the meaning of a word by decree. The mainstream media are the spearhead of normalizing population replacement. And that is where we attacked first and hardest. This is where the AfD's victory march begins. Here's an example. The politician Martin Schulz said the following in connection with the Arab invasion in Germany: "What the refugees bring us is more valuable than gold." In response, people began referring to foreign murderers and rapists as gold nuggets. A court then ruled that the term gold nuggets, used as a synonym for migrants, constituted hate speech. Since Germans follow the rules, including court rulings, because they are just and fair, new terms appeared, like skilled worker, bringer of culture, cultural enricher, new citizen, future investment, social diversity manager, or skilled worker for spontaneous property transfers. Honestly, the judge should have been fine with gold nuggets. The mainstream press's framing failed. Instead, state media began referring to foreign offenders as people with a migration background. The result were new terms like skilled worker with a knife background. After that, the media reported only about men. The problem with this, however, is that statistically, even foreign women are more criminal than German men. So the term man became a synonym for a foreign criminal. When the linguistic game no longer worked and it was no longer possible to distort reality, the media began starting the offender's citizenship, but only if they were German. Our media then investigated how many of these so-called Germans were actually German. It turned out to be a minority. Currently, the term German without a migration background is used when the offender really is German. In the meantime, there was also an attempt to give offenders German names in reporting, even though they actually had foreign names. This too was exposed and backfired. We have now reached a point where trust in the mainstream media, especially in the state media, has hit an all-time low. And I'm happy to say that the AfD has played a major role in this. The two areas that left-wing extremists have taken over are the media and state institutions. Their media, however, will soon no longer matter. People now get the truth only from alternative media. The second area, the state's institutions, we will get here soon. At present, the AfD is the most popular party in Germany. As early as next year, we are likely to be represented in at least one state government. You see, the AfD was able to establish an effective counter-public very early on. There are countless affiliated media outlets that not only report truthfully about us, but also about the situation in Germany, without hiding or obscuring anything. As parliamentarians, we have the right to question governments on specific topics. This gives us access to statistics and facts that would otherwise remain hidden from the public. We pass this exclusive material on to our media and sometimes even to the mainstream media, provided they behave themselves. So, Norsk, Riks, Kring, Casting, behave yourself. Do you remember the scandalous rulings by activists, judges I mentioned earlier? These rulings would never have reached the general public if we, the AfD, had not supported alternative media for over 10 years. With every hidden scandal, with every attempt to protect foreign offenders and denigrate German victims, trust in the state institutions occupied by left-wing extremists continues to decline. And with every unfair and unjust court ruling, the AfD's approval ratings rise. The counter is this: a new category was introduced by the Domestic Intelligence Service, delegitimization of the state. In plain language, this means that anyone who criticizes the state or truthfully reports on its abuse may be monitored by the secret services. This does not only affect people who report on scandalous rulings, and not only us as AfD politicians who criticize the left-wing infiltration of the state, but also satirists and other artists if they are not in line with the government. But now it's far too late to stop this development. Everyone knows what is going on in our country. Even boomers, who normally follow only state news, are now discovering the internet and with it the truth about our country. It turns out that people want a fair, just judiciary and a fair state, not an ideological state infiltrated by left-wing extremists. It is becoming increasingly clear that only the AfD can and will deliver this. The key to the left-wing success was that they operated largely out of the public eye, not informing the population of all these developments, in hope that by the time anyone noticed, it would be too late to change anything. They hoped that no one would notice the infiltration of the state or the disadvantage and displacement of Germans in their own country. We have broken this mechanism. But it gets even worse for the left wing. Through their constant attacks and demonization in the media, we now have become the bad boys of politics. And that attracts young people. Today, more young people than ever before are right-wing and have no problem openly saying this. Right is sexy, left is cringe. We are winning. Now let us briefly talk about the term remigration. Since the press and the courts have realized that they cannot control words, they are now escalating in another direction. As you know, it is the wish of the government and the mainstream media to ban the AfD. And let me remind you, the AfD is currently the most popular party in Germany. Their only approach revolves around the term remigration. They have understood that they cannot ban this term, and that is already a hot topic not only in Germany, but also across Europe. The concept of remigration can no longer be erased. That is why they are now putting all their eggs in one basket. Since they cannot confront us with arguments, and since next year we will form our first state government, they are now going all in. To make sure we do not obstruct the replacement of the German people, they want to ban us only because of our desire to secure the existence of the German people. They are now communicating this more and more openly because they have no other choice, as we have already broken their hold on the journalistic level. Yeah. But you know what? Our existence is non-negotiable. The term remigration is already mainstream in Germany, and I promise you, starting today, or maybe yesterday, people in Norway will be talking about it too. Did you enjoy the attention of the press so far? I promise you this: the genie is out of the bottle and it will not go back in. Remigration is on the agenda everywhere, and it's inevitable. There will be no ban on the AfD. We will form governments and we will implement remigration. And it will not stop with Germany. All across Europe, allied right-wing parties are growing stronger and will, soon enough, also be in governments. Then nothing will stand in the way of a great European remigration project. Friends, the future looks bright. Thank you.